Hi, this is Eddie Deason. You're listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall. I was Mandark in Dexter's Laboratory. Ha 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 ha.
You are listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall on Realm of the Mist Entertainment.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode. Today I am joined by a lovely musician, and she's got some other projects that she's been working on that we're going to get into a little bit later. But for right now, I would like to introduce you all to Monday Mirichu. I hope I didn't butcher that too much.
You did that so perfectly.
Perfect. How are you today?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I am getting ready for the cold days ahead in upstate New York.
Oh man, listen, I know you're way upstate from me, but still, it's getting cold out here too. So yeah, I hear you.
Well, make sure to bundle up and stay warm. So I've got you on the show because you're pretty much the first real musician that I've had, but I'm not going to dwell totally on that. I would definitely like to talk about that. But can you let the listeners know, what you have put out and why you're, well, in my opinion, why you're famous?
Well, I don't know if I'm famous. First of all, if anyone has to explain why they're famous, they're usually not famous. So I'm going to say that I'm not famous. However, I'll just say that there's like I have a little underground, maybe little sprinkling of I wouldn't say fame, but of followers of people who appreciate what I do. So I'm a singer-songwriter, and I've been recording continually since 1991. And yeah, maybe that's my thing. Yeah.
Maybe that's my thing. Yeah.
Maybe that's my thing.
Singer-songwriter. All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
Then I can see I'm gonna have to open up your bio and pick and choose what I want to ask you out of there. That's how this is gonna go, is it?
Well, I mean, I am a singer-songwriter. That's really my main thing, and I've done other things, to accentuate the career, if you will. But the main core of what I do is I'm a singer-songwriter.
Right. And so what kind of music do you sing?
So I sort of come up with, I guess, my own little style according to other people. You never, as a person doing it, you never really sort of identify like I'm doing this. At least I don't, anyway. But other people have said, you've got like a certain thing which is sort of jazz but not jazz, and it's soul but not soul, and it's Brazilian but not Brazilian, and it's, so it's sort of a mishmash. And I just sort of like, there's the phrase of being a gender fluid. I'm genre fluid.
There you go.
There you go. Hey.
Your genre is Monday.
There you go. Thank you very much. Yes.
So let's talk about that a little bit, if we could. I kind of want to touch on that because I wondered about it, and your bio talks about it a little bit, but I want everybody to hear it straight from your mouth. So your name is a amalgamation from what I can see. It's Monday Mirichu Mariano, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So you've got three different things going on here. Where did that come about, or how'd that come about?
So my mother is Japanese. Her name is Toshiko Akiyoshi. And in 1956, she came from Japan to America, Boston specifically, to be the first Japanese, not just woman, but just first Japanese to attend the Berklee School of Music, which, as we all know, is now the jazz sort of mecca, education place. So she was the first person. And in 1956, they just decided that they as in Berklee, wanted to do like a thing where they invited students who were probably already professional in their own countries, but from all over the world, to come and study jazz in the homeland, in America and in Berklee. And then eventually, they would be sort of the ambassadors of jazz and go back to their country to spread the word of jazz. So, she was the chosen one from Japan. My father, his name is Charlie Mariano. He's already passed away, going on the 10th year next year. That's cool. We all get old and we all die, but it happens. Anyhow, he actually was one of the founders of the Schillinger House in Boston, which was essentially a bunch of musicians, jazz musicians, who wanted to come up with like sort of a school of improv, like let's teach the young ones how to improv, and let them learn what jazz is about. And that morphed into what became Berklee. So in essence, you can say that he's one of the founders of Berklee. So he was actually one of the teachers and professors and already sort of a well-known name in the jazz world. So, and my mother being, a student and coming there, their paths met, and well, I'm sort of the product. So, so you have the Mariano is the last name. Monday was the day that I was born, and Michiru became my middle name because my mother thought, you know what, I just have to give her a Japanese name to give her a Japanese identity. So
I see.
That's my name. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's nice. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I've had to like it.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, you got to put up with it.
I've had to put up with it.
That's a cool story, though. Like, it definitely ties you back to your roots, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think they did pretty good naming me, and even though, can you imagine when you're a kid to be named something as odd as Monday? I mean, you're just the fodder of all jokes, and you're just like a beeline for anything, in terms of bullying that's going to happen. Let's get Monday, So, or Michiru, like when I first came to the States to go to school, it was in New York. I had just come from a small town village in Japan, and I couldn't speak a word of English. And so at the time, my parents used to call me Michiru. So they got me into school, and I'm Michiru, and they're like, Michiru, Mitch, Michidoodle. I mean, they just came up with all kinds of it was like, okay, this is not a cool name.
Poor
and then
thing.
Like, wait, my American name is Monday. Oh, that's even better.
Oh, wow.
It's not good.
I never would have guessed that English was your second language. You speak very, very, very good English. I would never have guessed that.
I'll be honest, even though Japanese was, I guess, my first language, it's been sort of a jig-jag until I was 7 of going back and forth from Japan to America, that by the time I came back to America at age 7, I couldn't speak any English. So then Japanese was maybe my first, second-ish language. It was really a mishmash. It's still a mystery even to myself which was my real first language. But English is the one that I still consider, for some reason, my native language, and Japanese is my less my native language, but my native culture. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I get it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, kind of speaking of the native culture and things like that, you were in a movie?
Yeah. So,
why do you laugh?
No, because it's really sort of a crazy thing that happened. So I was living in LA. I had graduated from high school, from a performing arts school, specifically Interlochen Arts Academy. I'd been studying classical flute, but somewhere along the line, I realized that maybe that's not what I should be pursuing. And I started thinking about, well, maybe I should be singing and writing my own songs. I don't know about this. So, in the meantime, I had to make a living. I didn't go to college, and I was straight into the workforce and living on my own. So I ended up becoming sort of like a secretary, like a glorified secretary. Nowadays, it's like all these fancy terms, like executive assistant. So I was an executive assistant at one point for the international, the vice president of the international section of a film distribution company. So while I was there, we had, of course, clients from all over the world, and amongst them were the Japanese. So they would come in and, hey, I can speak Japanese. So I would use my little, Japanese to them, and they were delighted. It's like, oh, you're so sweet, and blah. So one day they invited me out to dinner. They were like, we're in town. We'd love for you to join us. There's a few people who came with us from Japan. You might enjoy meeting them, blah, blah. Said, okay, great. So I went, and one of the people that were there was a really famous lyricist from Japan, and she was cajoled by the people who had invited me, saying, "Hey, maybe you know someone that Michiru-chan can beat in Japan. She wants to be a singer and songwriter." So she actually ended up taking my demo and photograph back to Japan, and sort of looked around for me, and lo and behold, I ended up getting contacted by someone about a movie. And the director of the movie always used people who aren't actors. He always chose people who were closest to the character that he was portraying in the film. And in this particular film, it was the role, the lead role happened to be a an opera singer. So he was looking for a singer, and he had already gone down the route of all the opera singers he could possibly get his hands on.
Oh my gosh.
And he couldn't find anybody, and it had to be Japanese. I'm half Japanese, and I'm Japanese looking enough that I, sort of fulfilled his need. so he sort of, said, "Hey, you want to do the film?" And I'm like, "Hey, this is sort of interesting." So I ended up taking the offer, doing it, moving to Japan, and yeah, that was my first film, and it ended up getting me Best New Actress award. So it propelled me into this whole world of acting that I hadn't anticipated.
That's cool. That's really fun. I wouldn't. I couldn't imagine just right place, right time kind of thing, I guess.
It really is. It really is. And that could have been also being at the wrong place at the wrong time too. It could have easily been. I'll be honest with you. The story really goes that maybe 2 or 3 months before, I got a cold phone call. By that I mean I get a phone call, I answer the phone, and they're like, "Are you, Monday Michiru Mariano?" And I'm like, "Yes." And they said, "We have your picture, and we know that you're a singer, and we want to know if you would like to do a movie, acting in a movie." And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "What? I'm not an actress." "Yes, we know." But I'm like, wait, how did you get my name? Blah, blah, blah. So, and I'm like, "And what is the role like? Wait a minute. Does it involve nudity?" And they said, "Yes." And I'm like, "Okay, no." Because back then, you're talking about the mid-'80s, half Japanese were sort of getting into the entertainment field, but they still weren't really embraced by the Japanese as serious people. I know that sounds terrible, but they were more entertainment, and they look good, being that they're not completely Japanese. So the exoticism of the other, whatever they're mixed with, would be sort of like, ooh, but they weren't really embraced by the public and whatnot. So there was a perception that they were sort of the cheaper, the cheapened end of things. So I didn't want to fall into that. And when they said that there was nudity involved, I thought, no, I don't think so. So by the time that I had the contact with this lyricist, and she went back, and then I got the phone call, and then it sounded a little bit more serious. And I'm like, I feel like I've gotten this phone call before. Did you guys contact me before? They said yes, and I'm like, wait, but I heard there's nudity involved. And they said, no. There is nudity involved, but it's sort of part of the storyline, and it's not like it's a porn film or it's like this, racy R-rated art film. It's actually, there's a reason for this. So when I went to Japan to audition for the part, and I met the director, and I saw the seriousness of what he does, and I insisted I've got to see his former films because I don't know him. And so they showed me a few of his films, and I left the screening room in tears because what he made was so beautiful that I thought, oh, I now get it, and I really want to be a part of this. Even though I don't know if I can act, even though I'm not an actor, I have to be a part of this. What he makes is so artful, and so the integrity was there. So yeah, that's when I realized that I had to do it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. That could be taken either way. That could have
gone really bad.
Yeah,
absolutely.
but I consider you lucky. That was, in my opinion, that was right place, right time. So
yeah, absolutely.
Now I just gotta figure out where to find it.
Can I tell you, my boyfriend keeps asking, like, how come I haven't seen this film? Well, because this was in the 80s and we didn't have DVDs. and nothing was online. No one is interested in the movie from 1987 that was so underground that's going to be, online.
Oh, you would be surprised.
Good luck find it. I bet. I bet.
Oh, jeez. Well, kind of segueing into my next little questions here, talking about underground and things like that. I see that you were a DJ at some point.
I was, yeah. So, when I moved to Japan in 1987, I was, as far as I was concerned, I was leaving America, and I was going to a place, a country that, even though I'm half Japanese and I understood the language and everything, it was still like not as cool as America in my eyes,
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, I was really diving into the underground music. Like, I'm super into the whole new wave thing, and I was on, this is in the 80s. I don't know how old you are, Ray. I suspect you're far younger than me. So this is probably like something that is very foreign to you. But back then, we used to like try and get into, if you were into any kind of subculture, which means it's not the mainstream, it's not what you're going to see on TV and whatever. If you were into any kind of subculture, you would try to find like, your tribe, basically, right?
Uh-huh.
And I was so interested in different kinds of music, just the different scenes of music that wasn't stuff that they were stuffing into your throat, from the radios and TV. I just wanted to, feel it and see it and hear it and know what the scene was about and what people were involved and stuff. So you get into these like phone calls where, you give your phone number, and then they would call you like once or twice a month, whatever it was, and they would say, all right, the party's going to be at this address, at this time. Don't tell anyone.
Oh, my gosh.
Show up. And it was usually like these run down or like not even with any electricity, and they would bring their own generators, to provide their electricity. But to these places downtown in LA, which back then was just a bunch of warehouses or, abandoned buildings and stuff, and then suddenly it would be transformed overnight into a club, and you would hear like the coolest music and stuff that you just didn't hear anywhere else. So I just wanted to get in on that and hear what that was about and just hear stuff, So when I moved to Japan, I was so thirsty for whatever was going on in the underground that I started to go to this place that conveniently was right across the street from where I lived in Tokyo for the first 2 years. It was this record shop that no longer exists. It was called Wave, and I used to go there, and I was like, and I would just sort of like, I would hang out in that time, so the people who worked there was like, man, she's back, and I would buy everything that I could get my hands on that I didn't know. Like I didn't even care what it was. It's like I just wanted to, like, ooh, this is like African stuff. We couldn't get this in LA. And ooh, this is like stuff from Yemen. Wow, what's this country about? What's this woman about that's on this cover? Like, I was just getting my hands on this stuff that I'd never seen before, I've never been exposed to before. And at some point, like, the guys who work, at the counters, they're like, hey, I've got some stuff behind the counter that you might be interested in. It was sort of like the black market, inside the record shop. And they would just pull out stuff that just, I got 10 copies of this. You want one? Yes! So I would just buy anything that I could get my hands on. And because I had such a vast interest and array of music, I slowly started to itch towards wanting to play it for not just friends and make the cassette tape mixes for friends, but I wanted to play it out,
Yeah.
I had a radio show, and some of the stuff I wanted to present to them was too underground, so then I started to talk with people who were doing clubs, and I'm like, hey, I really would love to DJ, so it just slowly worked into this DJing situation.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All that from, I heard you were a DJ.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Am I like talking too much? I am, aren't I?
No, not even close. I mean, I love it when I get stories like that. That's because this is what I'm talking about. Like we kind of briefly talked before we started recording, and this is what I like. I like hearing those stories that are deep, and maybe you hadn't necessarily told that story before, so it's cool.
No,
I like it.
yeah.
But
Cool.
so are you currently working on anything right now?
Right now I'm just working on a few things. So I'm always looking to write music. So whenever I have like an inspiration or time, or I sit down at the piano and whatever it is, I start working on music. And I've been, as always, as a songwriter, you're always sort of diving into ideas and writing down ideas and just hoping for the next time that you can record it. So, I don't have anything specific in terms of a recording schedule, because I've been talking to a record label, which these days it's really hard to get a label interested to record you unless you're like a super pop star, which I'm not. So, but it's still hopefully in the works. I'm not sure. But while that's going on, I started to sort of dive into the idea of teaching, specifically lyric writing. So it's interesting to me. A few years ago when I started to think about, okay, what else can I do aside from singing and, the touring, so all of that's wonderful, but I really want to sort of get into teaching and to nurture the next generation. Once you get to a certain age, you want to get to that point where you're able to hopefully try and pass on some of what you've learned in your experience and nurture the next generation. And I've been sort of itching for that opportunity. And I've done little like, artist development stuff with young singers in Japan and stuff like that. But I just felt like there's something more that I can be giving. What is it? So I realized, looking into university and conservatory programs for music specific to the kind of music I do, or even jazz, whatever, that they don't really have, for example, songwriting from the perspective of a singer, and for that matter, they don't have anything like when it comes to lyric writing. And lyric writing is something that's it's in a way specific. It's not poetry. It's not, writing that's typical, creative writing that's typical. But it's also like has no rules, but there's like a lot of wrongs that you shouldn't be doing, sort of thing. And it's really hard to describe. It's it's sort of like there's a recent show. I don't know if you watch like Netflix. I binge watch Netflix like crazy because I stopped watching TV after what's going on politically.
Right.
Just going there. And so I do a lot of binge watching. And one of the ones I recently saw and I just loved was Rhythm and Flow. Do you know it?
Yep. I know that one.
I love that show. I really loved it. I thought Cardi B was a little annoying. Otherwise, she started to make sense. When she was about being silly, she was actually pretty cool. And the other two as well. And the other two judges like that.
Yeah.
And just the whole show was actually really interesting because for me, it's cutting from a point of songwriting, of telling your story, which as a lyricist, that's what you're doing. You're telling your story, and you're finding an angle on how to do it, and you're trying to find a niche that makes you original, and you're trying to find, a rhythm and flow. That's something that we have to do as lyricists as well, and I just find the whole show so simpatico with what I do, and so that's sort of what I'm doing right now. It's this thing called Storytellers Workshop NYC because I'm based out in New York, and we're just trying to teach people, or at least give them the tools or inspiration or something, towards writing lyrics. And I guess because I was based in Japan for so long, so far all of my students are Japanese.
Oh.
So that's sort of fun. Yeah, it's like, okay, and how good is your English? And some of them it's great, and some of them it's not so good. And there's that added hump of a handicap that I got to overcome. But it's all good. It's something that I really love to nurture, because it's the thing I learned long ago is that when you start to teach or when you start to try and explain things to people, you have to dissect, analyze, and understand what it is that you're doing in order to be able to explain it to other people. So I learn a lot in the process.
Nice. That's cool. That's good to continue learning. Never stop learning, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The continuum.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're drawing up to the end of the show, if you can believe it or not. So I would like, if you would, and you can say, no, I'd rather not do that. But if you would, can you tell people where to kind of find you, to connect with you, maybe hear your music or anything like that?
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, I just revamped my website. Yay!
Cool.
So you can find me on www.monday, spelled like the day, and then Michiru, MICHIRU.com. And it's at least the beginning stages of my website. It'll lead you to different things. And honestly, if you were to Google me, you would probably find a heck of a lot more.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. I just want to say thank you so much, Monday, for coming on the show. We've been trying to do this for a while, had some hiccups with scheduling, but I'm glad that it finally happened.
Thank you so much, Ray. You're a joy. I love hearing your voice. You're such a nice and sweet person. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And good guests make for good interviews. That's how it goes. I'm only as good as my guests. So thank you again very much.
Thank you.
And thank you to all the listeners out there tuning in to hear our crazy voices and these crazy interviews. I appreciate you as well. Don't forget to, do the like and the subscribe and all that. There's my shameless plug. And we will see you all later.